going on, everybody? Yours truly here again. Um, I'd like to cover one more video today. Still the second day of the week, and because, like I stated, I won't be able to post a video tomorrow morning, or rather, this will be for the third day of the week, so for the 16th. It's just more research that I come across while I was in the feds and everything. Was just having a discussion with a guy on YouTube. A real great video that just came out. As a matter of fact, it's called it's under the History Channel.
Now,
It's called How Christianity Divided an Empire. I've been pretty much giving y'all this stuff. These people are just coming across it. Praise Yahweh. Anyways, so yeah, I want to give you viewers some more on, I guess, word research, word etymology, that kind of stuff. It's very important. It's very critical because of the confusion that the so-called ever-popular King James authors would like to have their believers believe that that is the most correct Bible out there. But as I've given y'all, I haven't really shown you, but I have a video on plenty of videos. One of them describing the mistranslation of Romans. I think it was 10:4, but there's a lot of discrepancies because of these translations. A lot of stuff that I've told y'all that you can find in parentheses or brackets or even in italics has been added for smooth reading. Okay, but I'll continue here, like I said, in no particular order. Oh, this is on the word church. Okay, it says, let us make it clear, and I got this while I was still in the feds, and I don't remember exactly what order this is. Exactly, but I'll try and put this in order for y'all. Like I said, I had all my stuff just, I'll start with this one, as a matter of fact. More on the word Christian. Okay, again, people understand this is not for means of insult. It's just the fact that these things need to be made clear, because you won't have the majority of people on YouTube or on the internet give you this kind of information. I can almost guarantee it. So I started watching that video, the one I just told you about right now, and I'm like, no, I already know what they're going to try to do. But yes, Christianity, in fact, has caused much confusion and many divisions in the Christian religion. Thankfully enough, the belief in the Bible is not a religion. It's the righteous way of life. Okay. Anyways, this is coming from the etymology of the word Christian. Okay. That's what a guy commented. He said that I told him that Christianity, I just commented, I like to comment on those videos. I put under that Constantine the Great established Christianity and Arianism, but another guy responded that the Christians were called, the apostles were called Christians, and I said, well, they never identified themselves as Christians. And I made the simple point. I said, the apostles all taught the laws of Moses and kept them. I said, and Christians don't. I said, how many Christians do you know eat defiled meats and keep Sunday worship? And those are the two things I've been pretty much emphasizing in my videos. Okay, the problem with reading the word in English is that we do not see the original language. But what is worse about the word Christian is that the original word was translated into English, back into Greek from the English, and then back into English. So we ended up with the word Christian or Cristianos. But neither is the word used at Antioch or what was being hurled at the disciples that got them so upset. Cristianos or Christian at first used to mock the disciples who believed Jesus was the seed of David and the fulfillment of the expected Messiah, King of Israel. Christianos is Greek. At first, the followers of Jesus were called disciples. Okay, from Greek Strong's number 3101, and I believe it's a Greek, yeah, Greek Strong's. It's a pupil or a learner. Men, Acts 9:18 and 26. Women, Acts 9:35 and 36. Because of their religious faith, they were called believers and saints. And saints are the ones who keep the commandments of Yahweh, as I pointed out to you on Revelation 14:12 and 22:14. Men were called brethren, Acts 9:30 and 31, and women were called sisters. In Antioch, a Syrian city, Acts 11:26, the disciples were first called Cristianos or Anosios, whatever, okay? It says, but deeper research takes us to the actual word that was used by King Agrippa. Anosios is Greek. Anos is an abbreviation of anosios, both meaning unholy, impious, and wicked. This is from Strong's number 462. The term is found in the New Testament 2 times, in 1 Timothy 1:9, unholy, and 2 Timothy 3:2, which means unholy. Anosios is further defined as Strong's number 1, a negative particle. Hosios, it means pure, pious, sacred, holy, or consecrated. Thus, anosios means not pure, not pious, not sacred, not holy, and not consecrated. This is the suffix for Cristianos. If you take the word Christian, spell it out on your paper, excuse me, you almost come up with the word Antichrist in it. And it's got an extra T, right? Christian only has one T. Antichrist has two T's. And like I told y'all earlier about the way I like to put things together, is that Antichrist has two T's, one more T than the word Christian. That is for the Tammuz, which is that little guy you see on the cross like this. Okay, that is exactly who it's representing, pretty much. I have done additional research, and it would seem that the abbreviation of Cristianos and Cristianosios to Cristianos was in fact done by disciples to take the sting out of the word, due to lack of study, such as the case today with the church. Many people out there, the origin was lost, and disciples started calling themselves Extians with an X. To call the disciples Cristianos is therefore no badge of pride nor a name to bear of which one will be proud. And most Christians are proud. They're proud and ignorant, and their ignorance makes them proud. If the intent of defamation was to speak evil of Jesus when this name was coined, it cannot be made into a holy description by which disciples should name themselves. Again, not even, they weren't using the name Jesus to a Hebrew guy, a Jewish guy. He would not have answered to that name because that name was unknown back then. As I told y'all, the letter J is no more than 300-400 years old. Whoever began to call the disciples followers of an unholy Christ certainly meant to create fear and horror in the minds of the world. Christian, English. The term Christian doesn't and never did translate into Christ-like or followers of the way. It was an intentionally act of multiple translation. So again, you look at your ways, the steps you're following. Are you following your own steps or the steps of your preacher, or are you following the steps of the Messiah? Law keeper, law abider, Sabbath keeper, used the name of Yahweh exclusively, and taught the laws of Moses. If your Christ came and did away with the laws of Yahweh, then, and if you guys are acting like it, living in sin, and thinking you're going to be saved regardless, then yeah, then you are a Christian. Christ is derived from the Greek word root krio, and means anointed through the idea of one being consecrated by smearing or rubbing a person with oil. When applied to Jesus, the term Christ meant had he been consecrated with a special spiritual anointing to perform ministerial functions. But at Theanos, and you have the dead opposite. The term Christian was not a holy name from its beginning. And the word Christian is, given to a lot of male Hispanics and probably white people too, I have a nephew, his name is Christian, so it doesn't necessarily mean he's a holy person. Okay, obviously those names can be used with anybody, anything, and everybody. Okay, but again, it does not mean you're a holy person. Okay. So yeah, there is no verse in the scriptures where any disciple or believer ever called themselves a Christian. That's what I told that guy in the commentary. One of the tragic mistakes of believers is to assume the name Christian was used by the disciples. I do not believe that. There is no evidence of this at all in the scriptures. In this text, believers were being persecuted as followers of Jesus, whom the Antichrist were saying was unholy, impious, and wicked, Christ impostor. Actually, what Peter said was, "Yet if any man suffer as Christianos, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on his behalf." The only way, even as a Christian, that you would be persecuted like the way the disciples were, is to be a Sabbath abiding believer. Stop eating pork, catfish, and any and all shellfish. Start using the name of Yahweh. You can still call yourself a Christian, but that is when the persecution comes. Like I told you, they'll start. Oh yeah, now he's in the sacred, the name, the holy name of God, and he's using the true name of Jesus. And people, you're gonna get it. I know because that's exactly what I went through when I was in the feds. Okay, so the disciples and believers were suffering indignity and disrespected of their faith. Peter encourages them that if they suffer as one who is accused of following Jesus as an unholy, impious, and wicked Christ impostor, to not be ashamed. The implication was to be accused of something false was not a reason to be ashamed. In their hearts, the disciples believed Jesus was the Messiah, Prince, and King of Israel. For this and the salvation as it heard into the world, they were willing to suffer the name Cristianos. Because that is what the majority of this world has ingrained into the minds of people, and because almost everybody comes out of prison for some odd reason. The difference between us and Christians is that Christians find God in prison. I don't know why they couldn't find him in church. Us, we're being called out by Yahweh from God worship. The same way the Apostle Paul was. I was a Christian or Catholic, same difference, but not anymore. My eyes have been opened. We are being called out of God worship, idolatry, falsehood, and deception all the way around. So people believe that if their son or daughter comes out of prison, yeah, hey, they made it. That's the religion you want to be. But like I said it a couple of videos back, sure, our parents want the best for us as long as it's got nothing to do with the Bible. I'm telling you, my mom hates all this stuff that I'm learning now. She's like, "Hey, mijo, well, nobody really knows." You all don't know because y'all don't read. Listen, people. Listen, I mean, I got my research here, the ones I got right here. I got the books I've shown you on the past videos. I got research in here. I got my research right there in some books. I got more over there on in a dresser, by the dresser. I mean, it is what it is, people. It's y'all's choosing if y'all want to start using the real and true and correct name of our Father in heaven, which is Yahweh, and the true and correct name of the Messiah, which is Yeshua. Again, I read to you the prophecy of Zephaniah 3:9. When that restoration comes, those names, God and Jesus, are not going to be used in the New Jerusalem. Okay. The name Christian was never used by a disciple or early believer to identify themselves, but was coined by those who hated the followers of the Messiah. The enemies of Jesus considered him to be an unholy, impious, and wicked Christ impostor. Thus, those who believed in him as the Messiah were called Cristianos, or followers of an impious Christ first at Antioch. So, anyways, let's see. All right. So Again, people, you can look up this stuff for yourself. Obviously, this is printed out from the internet a few years back while I was still locked up. It's it's one of those things that you can look it up just about anywhere, especially online. Now, the thing is, the people who put this stuff on the internet probably don't know any better. They're just putting the stuff out as they have it available through books, resources, and whatever they can find. Okay. Now, this is from, of course, an email my sister sent me. It is from the word church. Again, in the Old Testament, it was always called a house. And as I stated a few videos back, the word temple was only used when referring to pagan temples. But the temple in Jerusalem has always been called the house of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh. Temple were used by Jews, the house were used by believers, because you go to your church and you'll find a bunch of families there. You go to the house of Yahweh, you find only one family there. Everybody there is in unity with the teachings of the scriptures. That is a big difference. It says, let us make it clear from the very beginning that the established religious system which manifests itself in the abomination called church is not of God. This is just from the email, okay? We intend to make it very clear by studying the Greek words found in the New Testament that the pattern which God intends his people to follow and live by is the ecclesia system, and is radically different than that which calls itself church in our day. As you read this short study, the truth will dawn on you. Christians today have been fed a lie, and that they have been enslaved by the religious systems of men. There you go. If you truly love Jesus and desire to follow him in that total obedience, then you must seriously consider the facts that follow. We encourage each and every person who names the names of Christ to pray, fast, and seek God concerning the important differences between how the first Christians lived and how Christians live today. Well, again, people, the true believers were never called Christians. And besides, the name Christian is not found in the Old Testament. See, people, I mean, you just got to learn how to, put these things together. The correct meaning of church. The following information is from ACMTC Library and BenWilliamsLibrary.com. BenWilliamsLibrary.com, if you want to look that up. Let's start by defining the word. The word church comes from an Old English and German word pronounced kirch, Kirche. In Scotland, it was kirk, Kirk. The following entries are from the Oxford Universal English Dictionary. Church, Old English, Ceres, Circe. Remember I told you about that pagan goddess. Middle English, Chereche, Chirichi, Chirche, Wens, Churche, Cherche, etc. Greek, Kuriakon. Kirk, the Northern English and Scottish form of church in all its senses. In the earlier Greek, it was pronounced Kuriakos or Kuriakon. As you can see, this word doesn't even resemble the Greek word ecclesia, whose place it has usurped. The meaning of kuriakos is understood by its root, kurios. You know what that is. You'll see it almost in everybody's car nowadays, which means Lord. Thus, kuriakos, i.e., church, means pertaining to the Lord. It refers to something that pertains to or belongs to a Lord. The Greek kuriakos eventually came to be used in an Old English form as Ceres or Kiriki, Keereeke. That's the Greek, but in the English spelling it's Cirice. Then church or Kirk, Kerke, and eventually church in its traditional pronunciation. A church then is correctly something that pertains to or belongs to a Lord. But they all belong to the Lord, right? All these churches, whether they say they're the true ones or not, or they're just following the example of everybody else. Now, as you can see, there is a major problem here. The translators broke the rules in a big way. Yes, they did. Even Jeremiah says that the lying pen of the scribes has falsified it. When they inserted the word church in the English versions, they were not translating the Greek word kuriakos as one might expect. Rather, they were substituting an entirely different Greek word, This was not honest. The word church would have been an acceptable translation for the Greek word kuriakos. However, not by the wildest imagination of the most liberal translator can it ever be an acceptable translation for the Greek word ecclesia. Are you following this? Consider it carefully. This truth will answer many questions you have heard about the churches and the kingdom. Ecclesia is an entirely different word with an entirely different meaning in Kuriakos. In fact, the Greek word Kuriakos appears in the New Testament only twice. It is found once in 1 Corinthians 11:20 where it refers to the Lord's Supper, and once again in Revelation 1:10 where it refers to the Lord's Day. In both of these cases, it is translated the Lord's, not church. This word does not appear again in the New Testament. Nonetheless, this is the unlikely and strange history of the word church as it came to the English language. Eventually, through the manipulation of organized religion, church came to replace ecclesia by popular acceptance. Again, we must emphasize the importance of knowing word meanings in order to know the intent of those who wrote the scriptures. I've been saying this, people. I've been saying that word use and phrase just mean different things in different areas. Okay? I did not get that from here. It caught my attention that a lot of things might mean different things in different areas. Okay? Word use is very critical. Like not calling Yahweh God, not calling Yeshua Jesus. And if the Bible, in fact, was written in Greek, they should have let that word in there, right? Kuriakos or ecclesia. But then again, y'all have seen all this confusion that the authors have done for the ignorance of a lot of today's people. Like I told one guy, I said, you know what? The intent of King James's interpreters that rewrote or translated the Bible, their intentions have failed. And he's like, what do you mean? A lot of people don't even read it. They deliberately mistranslated a lot of things to deceive people. But a lot of people don't even read it. Probably collecting about that much dust right there on your shelf. I'm willing to bet. But anyways, it's very critical, people, and study and research must be done on your own. You can't trust all these people we see on TV or on YouTube. We have to do our own research. This is how you prove yourself to be worthy. Okay. So, or you show yourself, study to show yourself approved unto Yahweh. Okay. Now let's look at the word ecclesia. Ecclesia. This Greek word appears in the New Testament approximately 115 times. That's just in this one grammatical form. It appears also in other forms, and in every instance except 3, it is wrongly translated as church in the King James Version. Those 3 exceptions are found in Acts 19:32, 39, and 41. In these instances, the translators rendered it assembly instead of church. But the Greek word is exactly the same as the other 112 entries where it was changed to church wrongly. You see all this confusion? In the restored version, it's just house, the house of Yahweh. And that was only referring to the prophets, Messiah, disciples, and apostles. In Acts 19, ecclesia is a town council, a civil body in Ephesus. Thus, the translators were forced to abandon their fake translation in these 3 instances. Nonetheless, 112 times they changed it to church. This fact has been covered up under centuries of misuse and ignorance. The Greek word ecclesia is correctly defined as the called out ones. The house of Yahweh, the ones that worship or use the names of Yahweh, are the called out ones. If you're a God worshiper and you're called up by God, like I said in the last couple of videos, your actions pretty much still remain the same. The called out ones means out. ECC from ecclesia means out, and kaleo means call. Thus, you can see how this word was used to indicate a civil body of selected, called, elected people. Again, a lot of the times people find Jesus or find God out here and or in prison, but they still want to say, that they're called out. You really aren't. Your actions remain the same. Your fruits remain the same. Okay, you went from being a God worshiper or an ignorant God worshiper to a knowing, willfully known God worshiper. This is according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. In the New Testament, ecclesia, signifying convocation, is the only single word used for church. Ecclesia was the name given to the governmental assembly of the city of Athens, duly convoked or called out by proper officers and possessing all political power, including even juridical functions. Obviously, in Greece, an ecclesia had no resemblance to a church. An ecclesia was a civil assembly in Athens even before the writing of the New Testament. In the Oxford Universal English Dictionary, considered the standard for the English language, the word ecclesia is listed in its English form as used by our English forefathers. Nowadays, only forms of the word appear like ecclesiastical. Okay, hope all this is making sense, people. Quoting from the Oxford Universal English Dictionary on the word ecclesia, it's from ecclesia is medieval Latin and Greek from summoned, a regularly convoked assembly, especially the General Assembly of Athens of Athenians, later the regular word for church. Thus, two of the most prestigious word resources in the English language confirm the fact that an ecclesia was originally a select civil body summoned or convoked for a particular purpose. What then did the writers of the New Testament mean when they used the word ecclesia to describe a Christian body of people? We can assume that they intended to convey the original Greek meaning of the word, a body of Christians called out of the Roman and Judean system to come together into a separate civil community. It meant a politically autonomous body of Christians under no king but Jesus, under no other jurisdiction but that of Jesus. No man ruled them, only Christ. And that was the reason these same Christians ran into trouble with kings and rulers, were arrested, crucified, and martyred. They dropped Caesar as their king and took up Christ. Well, that white guy in a lot of these pictures is actually Cesar Borgia. Just look it up, people. In Acts 17, verses 1 through 6, we see Paul and Silas had a reputation that preceded them. They were turning the world or the system upside down. What was their inflaming message? Were they telling the people to find a minister and support him, go to a church every weekend, be nice to their neighbors? Because this had been the message that set the city fathers against them. Or maybe they were asking people to send their tithes to them so they could build a nice church or develop a Christian recreation center. No. What then? What were these guys doing that was so turning the world system upside down? The answer is found in verse 7. Whom Jason had received into his house, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another one whose name is Jesus. So that is what the house of Yahweh is doing. They're being hated because they're doing the same exact thing. They're turning this world, they're getting them upset because they're showing them these things, and people are getting upset because they wholeheartedly believe they were being taught the truth when they weren't. People are born, the majority of this world is born under slaves to this country, into a God-worshiping country, and not even, we have the right to choose what we want to believe in. But you can't find the truth unless, like it says in John 6, I think, that no man can come to me unless Yahweh has called them out. So we cannot get to the Father if we don't go through Yeshua. But if God and Jesus are the same thing, then how can you be called out? Okay, I've got a few minutes here. So let's see here. I'll read this other little section here because from what I see, I need to erase. I have a lot of pictures on my phone, family pictures, me, my girl, that kind of stuff. I got about 10 minutes left. So I'll just make this a little bit shorter. Hopefully you guys are catching on to all this. The Christian civil body. Independent self-government under Christ. That is what the ecclesia represents, not a religious organization for meeting on weekends. let alone on Sunday. The Bible does not indicate that churches would eventually take the place of ecclesias. The change of words was not sanctioned by Scripture. There is no scriptural authority for Christians to build churches, attend churches, or support churches. Churches are godly. In this case, it says ungodly, but they are godly. Organizations designed for and by the heathen, Gentiles. We should be forming and defending ecclesias instead of the disgusting churches with their con games, entertainment, cultic mystery, childlessness, and heathenistic worldly nonsense. We once used the word church to describe ourselves, but no more, thank God. We are doing our best to break that image. It's a slow process, but we're putting the old church way behind us. So the idolatry must stop. All the churches promote idolatry, God worship, images, relics, rosaries, crucifixes, prayer cards, all of this stuff. If you profess to follow Christ, then it's time you quit voluntarily feeding the Antichrist beast. Men who want to sincerely follow Christ must wean themselves from the worldly governments and churches. It is the height of absurdity for a Christian to attend and support the very institutions which are destroying his relationship with God. Those who voluntarily support man-made religions, church systems by believing and teaching that they are good in any way, or that they help us, or that we need them, are still living in a dream world of deception. They have pulled the veil of deception over you, people. The ecclesia system, with its theocratic government and individual responsibility, is capable of freeing us from the bondage of religion. True peace and liberty cannot be found outside of Christ. Christ's system is the ecclesia system. Freedom awaits all those who will break away from the religious slavery of church and become a humble bondslave of Christ. We must stop idolizing men and their religious hypocrisy and let Christ once and for all be our King. So there is really no other choice for those who will truly follow the pattern laid down for us in God's Word. We must do the same thing the apostles did. We must from ourselves into actual communities under the guidance of God's anointed and appointed leaders, called out and separated from the world, with none other than Christ as ruler and king. Or in other words, house. Okay, so people, like I said, it is what it is. It's hard to grasp at first, but the more research you do, the more you dig, eventually you're going to hit gold, right? The further down you go down the rabbit hole, so to speak. I like those examples, or what's that word? I like that symbology, like in the Matrix. Matrix is very biblical. Alice in Wonderland, well, it was supposedly just about a girl who was doing shrooms. But yeah, it's figure of speech. Because then again, that's what a lot of the Bible speaks in, is a figure of speech. You know, like the beast. You know, we use words like beast every day. Man, that guy's a beast, man. We had all these guys working out in the weight pile. Man, that guy's a beast. He can bench press like 315 pounds, you know. Or that girl's a beast, man. She can draw like nobody's business, you know. She's a beast, man. She's great, in other words. Great and powerful, in this case, of the Roman beast. So, again, the word usage is very critical. And we must do this kind of research. Who wants this printed out? Just to give you guys an example. Date. This is from 2016. That I had my sister print that out for me while I was in the feds. But I'm sure a lot of these things, they change every now and then, but we must do that kind of research, people. Go back to as closest as possible that we can to retain that language, because like I stated and shown you on the prophecies, those names, God and Jesus, are going to be wiped out when the restoration comes. See, to us, a lot of those things have been proven to us by the prophecies. Okay, if y'all want those scriptures again, you can read Zephaniah. Let's see. Zephaniah 3:9. Yes, at that time I will return to the prophets the pure word, the law and the prophets. I will return to the peoples the pure word, the law and the prophets, so that all of them may call in the name of Yahweh and serve him with one accord only. And you can cross-reference that to Hosea. Hosea chapter 2, 16 and 17. And it will be in that day, says Yahweh, that you will call me Ishi, my husband, and will no longer call me Bali, or my Lord. For I will take away the names of Baalim, the lords, and the gods and goddesses out of her mouth, and their names will no longer be called upon. So, people, these are prophecies in your Bible. To us, the house of Yahweh, those things have already come to pass, and are helping people use the true and correct names. And for those of you who say, well, they're just using the Jewish names. No, we are using the true and correct names. Those studies through the house of Yahweh teach you that. Okay. Again, people, this video will be up tomorrow morning, which for you guys will be the third day of the week. Because I will be in San Antonio getting more shots. And by the time I get back, I'm going to be all grumpy anyways, because those shots just really hurt, man. They're crazy. But as soon as I'm up and feeling myself again, probably after tomorrow, put up another video. So again, the comment section is open. Leave your questions and comments. Like and subscribe. Show your friends. Share these videos with your friends. Again, if y'all have questions, ask me. And when say you have my permission to, say, hey, John Smith, let me use with his name with permission, and he's asking this question, I'll try and help you guys out. That's what these videos are for. Okay, I know, because you see me as a regular t-shirt and cap. Hey, I'm a simple man. The Messiah was a simple guy. He didn't come wearing no priestly gowns and no crowns. He was a simple man. And I'm not trying to get your attention out of other videos. Watch them for the purposes of learning. But because those guys have millions and real nice offices and big mics and speakers, it doesn't mean anything. But so anyways, yeah, if y'all have questions, leave them at the comment section, and I will try and get back to y'all as soon as I get back to my normal self. And I'm just praying and hoping the surgery comes quick and ends quick, man. That'll be my third surgery in 47 years. I had my appendix removed. I had left leg surgery, a meniscus tear, and I'm having spinal surgery. So anyways, so we'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, cheerio.